I was standing in the middle of my own property when security guards told me I was trespassing. The sun was setting behind the new resort logo, my sister's resort logo, mounted on gates that used to lead to my family's old farmhouse. I could see tourists laughing on the deck of what they called the Sunset Pavilion, sipping cocktails exactly where my father's workshop once stood. My hands were shaking as I held the faded property deed, the paper my grandmother signed over to me 3 days before she died. That's when a woman in a crisp business suit walked up, clipboard in hand, and said something that made my blood run cold. "I'm sorry, but according to our records, this land was legally transferred 2 years ago." I looked at her signature at the bottom of the transfer document. It was mine. Except I'd never signed anything. But I'm getting ahead of myself. To understand how my own sister managed to steal my inheritance and build a resort empire on land that wasn't hers, I need to take you back to where it all started. 1 month earlier, the day after our grandmother's funeral. The funeral had been small, intimate, my sister Victoria called it. I called it what it really was, controlled. Victoria had organized everything, the flowers, the catering, even which family members got to speak. I wasn't one of them. When I tried to approach the podium to share a memory of Grandma Rose teaching me to bake her famous apple pie, Victoria's husband, Derek, physically blocked my path with a sympathetic smile that didn't reach his eyes. "We're running behind schedule," he'd whispered, his hand firm on my shoulder. I'd sat back down, my eulogy crumpled in my sweating palm, watching Victoria dab at dry eyes with a monogrammed handkerchief. Now, sitting in the lawyer's office the morning after, I could still smell the lilies from the funeral. They'd been Grandma's least favorite flower. She always said they smelled like death, but Victoria had ordered hundreds of them anyway. The lawyer, Mr. Pemberton, was a thin man with wire-rimmed glasses that kept sliding down his nose. He cleared his throat 3 times before speaking, a nervous habit that made my stomach clench. "I'm very sorry for your loss," he began, looking between Victoria and me. My sister sat perfectly poised in a black Chanel suit, her blonde hair pulled back in a flawless bun. I was wearing the same dress I'd worn to the funeral, wrinkled now, with a coffee stain on the sleeve I hadn't noticed until I was already in the car. Mr. Pemberton opened a manila folder, and I saw Grandma Rose's handwriting on the documents inside. My throat tightened. That handwriting, shaky in her final months, but still unmistakably hers. Those loops and curves I'd seen on birthday cards and recipe notes my entire life. "Your grandmother's will is quite straightforward," he continued, adjusting his glasses. "She's left her personal effects to be divided equally between you both. Her savings account, approximately $47,000, is also to be split." Victoria nodded, as if this was exactly what she'd expected. But I was waiting for the other part. The land. The 20 acres of pristine countryside that had been in our family for 4 generations. The place where I'd spent every summer of my childhood, where Grandma had promised it would be mine someday. "And the property," Mr. Pemberton said, and I leaned forward, my heart pounding. "The 20 acres in Millbrook Valley." He paused, looking down at the document with a frown. "According to these records, that property was transferred out of Mrs. Rose Whitmore's name 2 years ago." The room seemed to tilt. "What?" The word came out as barely a whisper. Victoria's face remained perfectly neutral, but I saw it, just a flicker, a tiny muscle twitch at the corner of her mouth. "Transferred to whom?" I asked, my voice stronger now, demanding. Mr. Pemberton looked uncomfortable. "To a Victoria and Derek Ashford." "Is that—" He looked at my sister. "That's us," Victoria said smoothly, finally speaking. "Grandma signed the land over to us 2 years ago. It was her wish." I felt like I'd been punched in the stomach. "That's impossible," I said, shaking my head. "She would have told me. She promised me that land. Since I was 12 years old, she promised." Victoria sighed, the kind of patient sigh you'd give a child throwing a tantrum. "Emma, I know this is difficult, but Grandma changed her mind. She wanted the land to go to someone who could actually do something with it. Someone with resources. Vision." Her words were carefully chosen, each one a tiny blade. "Someone responsible." "That's bullshit," I stood up so fast, my chair scraped loudly against the hardwood floor. Grandma would never. She knew how much that place meant to me. We talked about it a month before she died. She told me she couldn't wait to see what I'd do with it. Victoria exchanged a look with Derek, who'd been sitting silently beside her. It was a look I'd seen 1,000 times growing up. The look that said, "Emma's being dramatic again." "She had dementia, Emma," Victoria said softly, with manufactured sympathy. "You know that. In her final months, she wasn't always coherent." I turned to Mr. Pemberton, desperate. "Is there any way to contest this? If she was mentally compromised—" "The transfer was completed 2 years ago," he interrupted gently. "At that time, Mrs. Whitmore was fully evaluated by a physician and declared mentally competent. I have the documentation here." He slid a paper across the desk. I grabbed it, scanning the medical report. "Dr. Patricia Morrison." I didn't recognize the name. "Who is this doctor?" Grandma's regular doctor was Dr. Chen. She'd been seeing him for 20 years. Victoria stood, smoothing her skirt. "We got a second opinion. Dr. Morrison is a specialist. She's very reputable." There was something in the way she said it. Too quick, too defensive. "I want to see the transfer documents. All of them." Mr. Pemberton hesitated, then pulled out another folder. "Of course, you're entitled to copies." I grabbed the papers, my hands shaking so badly the pages rattled. And there it was, Grandma's signature. Witnessed and notarized. Dated October 15th, 2 years ago. October 15th. I remembered that date. It was 3 days after Grandma had been hospitalized for pneumonia. 3 days after Victoria had been the only one available to stay with her because I'd been in the middle of final exams for my nursing degree. I drove back to my apartment in a daze, the papers clutched in my passenger seat. My phone buzzed repeatedly. Victoria calling, probably to check on me or deliver some patronizing speech about acceptance and moving forward. I ignored every call. When I finally got home, I threw the papers on my kitchen table and just stared at them. My apartment was small, a one-bedroom on the 3rd floor of an old building with questionable heating and neighbors who fought every night. It was all I could afford on a nurse's salary while paying off student loans. Meanwhile, Victoria and Derek lived in a 5-bedroom house in the gated community, drove matching luxury cars, and apparently now owned 20 acres of prime real estate. I made coffee I didn't drink and tried to think. Something was wrong. I knew it in my bones. Grandma Rose had been many things, but she wasn't a liar. And she'd promised me that land more times than I could count. "This will be yours someday, Emma girl," she'd say, standing on the porch of the old farmhouse, her arm around my shoulders. "You're the one who loves it like I do. You're the one who sees what it could be." I'd spent every summer there from age 8 to 18. I knew every tree, every creek, every hidden spot. Victoria had maybe visited 3 times in all those years, always complaining about the bugs and the lack of cell service. My phone buzzed again. This time, it wasn't Victoria. It was my mom. I answered. "Emma, Victoria told me what happened at the lawyer's office," she said, her voice tight. "I need you to stop making a scene. This is embarrassing." I laughed, a bitter sound. "Embarrassing? Mom, Victoria stole my inheritance. Don't be dramatic. Your grandmother made her choice. Victoria and Derek are in a position to actually maintain the property. You're barely keeping yourself afloat." The words stung because they were partially true. "I'm doing fine, Mom. And that's not the point. Grandma promised—" "Your grandmother was sick, Emma. She said a lot of things toward the end." There it was again. That same narrative Victoria was pushing. "She wasn't sick 2 years ago, Mom. She was sharp as ever." There was a pause. "I need to go. Please just let this go. For the family." She hung up before I could respond. I sat there, phone in hand, feeling more alone than I'd ever felt. Our dad had died when I was 16, a heart attack, sudden and devastating. After that, it had always been the 3 of us, Mom, Victoria, and me. Except it hadn't really been the 3 of us. It had been Mom and Victoria, and then me. Always on the outside, always the afterthought. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about Dr. Patricia Morrison, the physician who'd evaluated Grandma. Something about that bothered me. Why would Victoria take Grandma to a different doctor? I grabbed my laptop and started searching. Dr. Patricia Morrison had a practice in the city, about an hour from where Grandma had lived. Her website was professional, polished. She specialized in geriatric care and capacity evaluations. I clicked through to her reviews. Most were positive, glowing even. But then I found it. A complaint buried in a legal forum. A family had contested a will, claiming Dr. Morrison had declared their father competent when he clearly wasn't. The case had been settled out of court. The complaint was 3 years old. I took screenshots of everything. Then I started going through the transfer documents again, line by line. The notary's name was Linda Ashcroft. I searched for her too. She worked for a company called Ashcroft Legal Services. I clicked on the About Us page, and my stomach dropped. The company was owned by Derek Ashford's brother, James Ashcroft. The name was different, Ashcroft versus Ashford, but a quick social media search confirmed it. They were brothers. Derek's brother had notarized the document that transferred Grandma's land to Derek and Victoria. I sat back, my heart racing. This wasn't just suspicious, this was fraud, but I needed proof. Real, undeniable proof. The next morning, I called in sick to work and drove out to Millbrook Valley. I hadn't been there since Grandma died. When I pulled up to the property, my heart sank. The old farmhouse was gone. In its place was a construction site, bulldozers, excavators, and what looked like the foundation of a large building. A sign at the entrance read, Whitmore Resort and Spa, opening spring 2024, a vision by Victoria Ashford. I parked on the side of the road and just stared. They'd already started. They'd torn down everything, the farmhouse, the barn, Dad's old workshop, all of it. Gone. I got out of my car and walked closer, my legs shaky. A construction worker noticed me and waved. "Careful, ma'am. Hard hat area." I ignored him and kept walking, pulled forward by something I couldn't name. I needed to see it. I needed to see what they'd done to my family's land. That's when I saw her. Victoria, standing near a trailer that looked like a mobile office, talking to a man in a suit. She was holding blueprints, pointing at something, laughing. She looked up and saw me. Her face changed, just for a second, from confident businesswoman to something else. Guilt? Fear? Then it was gone, replaced by that professional smile. She walked toward me, blueprints still in hand. "Emma, I didn't expect to see you here." "You tore it down," I said, my voice shaking. "You tore down everything." Victoria sighed. The structure was over 100 years old. It wasn't salvageable. We had engineers assess it. "You didn't even ask me if I wanted anything from it. Grandma's rocking chair, Dad's tools, My voice broke. The photo albums were in there, all the family photos. "We saved what we could," Victoria said, but her tone was dismissive. "Most of it was junk, Emma. You're being sentimental about trash." I stepped closer, anger replacing the grief. "How did you do it? How did you trick her into signing over the land?" Victoria's eyes narrowed. "I didn't trick anyone. Grandma made a choice. While she was sick, while I was conveniently taking exams and couldn't be there. That's not my fault. Your husband's brother notarized the documents, Victoria. The same doctor you took her to has a history of questionable evaluations. You think I'm stupid?" For the first time, Victoria looked rattled. "You're paranoid, and you're embarrassing yourself." "I'm going to contest this," I said. "I'm going to prove you manipulated her, and I'm going to take back what's mine." Victoria laughed, but it wasn't a happy sound. "With what money? You can barely afford rent. Lawyers cost hundreds of thousands of dollars, Emma, and we have the best. You'll lose everything trying to fight us, and you'll still end up with nothing." She was right, and we both knew it. I didn't have money for a legal battle. Victoria stepped closer, lowering her voice. "Here's what I'll do. Because I'm generous and you're my sister, I'll give you $50,000. A goodwill payment. Take it, move on with your life, and we can still be a family." "Go to hell," I said. Victoria's expression hardened. Then we're done. Don't come back here. This is private property now, and you're trespassing. She turned and walked away, leaving me standing there in the dirt where Grandma's garden used to be. I drove home crying so hard I had to pull over twice. When I finally made it back to my apartment, there was someone waiting in the hallway. An older man, maybe 60, with gray hair and kind eyes. He was wearing a flannel shirt and jeans, holding a worn baseball cap in his hands. "Emma Whitmore?" he asked. I wiped my eyes, immediately on guard. "Who are you?" "My name is Frank Morrison. I worked for your grandmother for about 15 years. Maintained the property, fixed things around the farmhouse. I heard what happened, and I think you should know something." I let him into my apartment, too tired to be cautious. He sat at my kitchen table, the same one covered in legal documents. He looked at them and nodded slowly. "So, you're fighting it?" "Trying to," I said. "Not that it's going anywhere." Frank leaned forward. 2 years ago, your sister called me, asked me not to come by the property for a few weeks. Said your grandma was having some family visits and wanted privacy. I thought it was strange because Rose, your grandma, she always liked having me around, said I was good company. He pulled out his phone and showed me his call log. "I keep records of everything, work calls, schedules. Here." He pointed to a date, October 12th. Victoria called me that morning, told me not to come by for 3 weeks. October 12th was the day before the transfer was signed. I felt my pulse quicken. "Did you ever find out why?" When I came back, Rose seemed confused. Asked me where I'd been. I told her I stayed away like Victoria asked, and she got upset. Said she never wanted me to stay away. Said she'd felt isolated, trapped even, during those weeks. Did she say anything else? Frank nodded. She told me Victoria had brought a fancy doctor to the house, made her sign papers, said she was so tired and medicated for her pneumonia that she just signed whatever they put in front of her. She thought it was just medical consent forms. My hands were shaking again. "Would you testify to that?" Frank looked me directly in the eyes. "Yes, but Emma, you should know. Your sister's been calling me, offering me money to disappear. Quite a bit of money." My heart sank. "Are you going to take it?" "Hell no," Frank said, his voice firm. "Rose was a good woman. What they did to her, what they're doing to you, it ain't right. I got enough to live on. My conscience is worth more than their blood money." I could have hugged him. "Thank you," I whispered. Frank stood up. "There's something else. I got keys to a storage unit in town. After Rose died, I cleaned out what I could before the demolition crew came. Saved some stuff I thought you might want. Photos, documents, personal things. I figured you'd come looking eventually. The storage unit was on the edge of town, one of those orange door places that smelled like rust and old cardboard. Frank had rented it under his name and had been paying the monthly fee out of his own pocket. "I couldn't let them destroy everything," he said as he unlocked Unit 247. When he rolled up the door, I gasped. It was full. Grandma's rocking chair, boxes of photo albums, Dad's toolbox, kitchen items, quilts, pieces of my childhood stacked carefully in the dim space. I walked in slowly, running my hands over familiar objects. A lump formed in my throat. "Frank, I don't know how to thank you." "Don't thank me yet," he said. "Look in that box." He pointed to a cardboard box labeled Rose's Desk. I opened it and found files, papers, and a leather journal. I picked up the journal. It was Grandma's handwriting. I flipped through pages, daily notes, recipes, thoughts. Then I found entries from 2 years ago. October 10th. Victoria called, says she wants to visit more often. I'm so happy. I've missed her. October 13th. Sick. Victoria brought a doctor. Signed some papers for medical decisions. So tired. October 14th. Victoria says she's taking care of everything. I trust her. October 20th. Frank hasn't been by. I miss seeing him. Feel very alone. November 3rd. Tried to call Emma. Victoria says she's too busy with school. I wish I could see her. December 1st. Something isn't right. Victoria asked me about the property deed. I told her Emma gets the land when I'm gone. She got very quiet. My hands trembled as I read. This was it. Evidence of her state of mind. Evidence of Victoria's manipulation. I kept reading. There were more entries, getting more confused and worried. January 8th. Tried to talk to my lawyer. Victoria says he retired. New lawyer now. I don't like him. February 14th. Where are all my papers? Victoria says she's organizing them for me. I can't find anything. March 22nd. Feel like a prisoner in my own home. Victoria decides who visits, who calls. When did I lose control? I looked up at Frank, tears streaming down my face. This is everything. This proves she isolated her, manipulated her. Keep reading, Frank said quietly. I flipped to one of the last entries. June 10th, just 3 months before she died. I tried to call Emma today. Victoria took my phone away. Says I'm confused and I might say things I don't mean. But I'm not confused. I know exactly what she's doing. She wants the land. She's always wanted it, but I promised it to Emma. I need to fix this. I need to talk to my real lawyer, Mr. Pemberton. June 15th. Mr. Pemberton came to visit. Victoria doesn't know. I told him everything. He says we can file new paperwork, undo the transfer. He's helping me. Says it will take a few weeks. I'm so relieved. June 20th. Victoria found out about Mr. Pemberton. She's furious, screamed at me, said I'm betraying the family. I'm scared of my own granddaughter. That was the last entry. Grandma died 2 months later. I looked at Frank. Did you know about any of this? Some of it, he admitted. Rose tried to tell me, but she was scared. Said Victoria threatened to put her in a home if she caused trouble. I should have done more. I should have... You saved this, I interrupted. That's what matters. This journal, Frank. This could change everything. But even as I said it, doubt crept in. Would a journal be enough? Victoria had legal documents, doctors' signatures, official transfers. I had an old woman's diary and a handyman's testimony. Frank seemed to read my thoughts. There's one more thing, he said. I made copies of some documents before Victoria took them. Financial records mostly. Rose kept meticulous records of her accounts. You should look at them. Back at my apartment, I spread everything out. The journal, the financial records, the transfer documents. I started cross-referencing dates and amounts. Something didn't add up. According to the financial records, Grandma had savings of approximately $200,000 2 years ago. But the will only mentioned $47,000. Where had the rest gone? I found withdrawal slips. Large amounts. $20,000 here. $35,000 there. $50,000, all dated after the property transfer. All signed with Grandma's signature, but something looked off about the handwriting. It was close, but not quite right. Too steady. Too perfect. I compared them to the journal entries written at the same time. The journal showed her handwriting deteriorating, becoming shakier. But the withdrawal slips? Clean, controlled, professional? I grabbed my phone and called a friend from nursing school, Jennifer, who now worked in forensic nursing. Jen, hypothetically, if someone was forging signatures, how would you prove it? Get a handwriting analyst, she said immediately. But Emma, those are expensive, like $5,000 minimum expensive. What if I had original documents, multiple samples showing a clear difference? Then you might have a case. Why? What's going on? I told her everything. When I finished, she was quiet for a moment. Emma, you need a lawyer. Like yesterday. This isn't just estate fraud. This is financial elder abuse. That's a criminal charge in most states. I can't afford a lawyer. What about legal aid? Or a lawyer who works on contingency? I hadn't thought of that. Do you know anyone? Actually, yes. My cousin, Marcus Chen. He specializes in elder law and estate fraud. Takes cases on contingency if he thinks he can win. Want me to give him your number? Yes. God, yes. Please. That night I couldn't sleep again. I kept thinking about Grandma, alone in that house, watching Victoria dismantle her life piece by piece. I thought about those journal entries. Feel like a prisoner in my own home. My phone rang at 7 the next morning. Emma Whitmore? This is Marcus Chen. Jennifer gave me a brief overview of your situation. I'd like to meet with you today if possible. Marcus Chen's office was modest but professional, located above a coffee shop in downtown. He was younger than I expected, maybe late 30s, with sharp eyes and a firm handshake. I brought everything: the journal, the financial records, Frank's phone logs, the transfer documents, the medical evaluation. Marcus spent 2 hours going through every page, making notes, occasionally looking up at me with an expression I couldn't quite read. Finally, he sat back. "This is bad." My heart sank. Bad as in I don't have a case? Bad as in your sister committed multiple felonies. He tapped the journal. This, combined with the financial records and Frank's testimony, suggests a pattern of isolation, manipulation, and financial exploitation. The forged signatures on the withdrawals, if we can prove they're forged, that's identity theft and bank fraud. Can we prove it? Yes. I know an excellent handwriting analyst. She'll need the original documents, but from what I'm seeing in these copies, there are clear inconsistencies. He pulled out the medical evaluation from Dr. Morrison. This concerns me too. A patient hospitalized with pneumonia, on medication, evaluated 3 days later as fully competent? That's questionable medical practice at best, perjury at worst. So what do? Marcus leaned forward. We build a case. We file a complaint with Adult Protective Services even though your grandmother is deceased. It creates an official record. We get that handwriting analysis. We depose Frank. We subpoena Victoria and Derek's financial records. I want to see where that missing money went. And we file a civil suit to void the property transfer. How long will this take? 6 months to a year, maybe longer. These things move slowly. They're building a resort, Marcus. They've already torn down the farmhouse. By the time we get a ruling, there won't be anything left to save. Marcus nodded slowly. That's the risk. But Emma, if we can prove fraud, they'll have to restore everything to its original state or compensate you for the current value of the property. A resort would make that land worth significantly more than when your grandmother owned it. That thought hadn't occurred to me. But I don't want their resort. I want Grandma's land back the way it was. I understand, but that's not reality anymore. They've altered it, permanently. What we can do is make sure you get what's rightfully yours, even if it looks different now. I signed the retainer agreement. Marcus worked on contingency, but I'd have to cover the upfront costs, the handwriting analyst, filing fees, expert witnesses. It would cost about $15,000 total, he estimated. I had $8,000 in savings. That night I did something I never thought I'd do. I started a GoFundMe. I titled it, "Help Me Fight for My Grandmother's Stolen Land," and told the whole story. I attached photos of Grandma, the old farmhouse, the journal entries. I hit publish and prayed. I woke up to 47 notifications. People had shared my GoFundMe. Strangers were donating. $20, $50, $100. By noon, I had raised $3,000. By evening, $8,000. Someone had shared it on Reddit, and it exploded. People were furious on my behalf. The comment section filled with similar stories, families torn apart by greedy relatives, inheritances stolen, elderly relatives manipulated. I was overwhelmed. A local news station called. They wanted to do a story. I said yes. The segment aired 3 days later. They interviewed me, showed pictures of Grandma, showed the construction site where the farmhouse had been. They mentioned Victoria by name. The reporter asked Victoria for comment. She declined, but they showed footage of the resort construction anyway, with the sign bearing her name. That night, my phone exploded. Hundreds of messages, some supportive, some hateful. Victoria's friends attacked me online, calling me jealous and delusional. But more people believed me. More people donated. Within a week, the GoFundMe had raised $40,000. I was stunned. With that money, Marcus fast-tracked everything. The handwriting analyst confirmed what I suspected. The signatures on the withdrawal slips didn't match Grandma's natural writing. They matched samples of Victoria's handwriting. Victoria had been forging withdrawals. Marcus subpoenaed bank records. The money had been transferred to accounts controlled by Victoria and Derek. Over $150,000 total, siphoned out slowly over 18 months. Adult Protective Services opened an investigation. The case was referred to the district attorney's office for potential criminal charges. I went back to work, trying to maintain some normalcy, but everyone had seen the news. Coworkers whispered, patients asked if I was that girl from TV. I just wanted it to be over. Then, 1 month after filing the lawsuit, I got a call from Marcus. "Emma, you need to sit down." My stomach dropped. "What happened?" "Victoria and Derek just filed for bankruptcy." "What? How can they file for bankruptcy? They're building a resort." Marcus's voice was tight with controlled anger. "It's a strategic move. They're claiming the resort project put them in massive debt, that they overextended themselves financially, and they can't pay their creditors. If the bankruptcy goes through, it could tie up all their assets, including the property, in bankruptcy court for years. Can they do that? Just dodge the lawsuit by claiming they're broke? It's legal, but it's suspicious as hell. The timing is too convenient. They filed exactly 2 days after I subpoenaed their financial records." I felt sick. So what does this mean for me? It means we're fighting on 2 fronts now, the bankruptcy court and the civil suit. But Emma, here's the thing. Bankruptcy requires full financial disclosure. They have to reveal everything. Every account, every asset, every transaction. If they're hiding money, we'll find it. And if they're not hiding it? If they really are broke? Marcus was quiet for a moment. Then we adapt. But I don't think they are. Derek's a commercial real estate developer. Victoria has family money. People like that don't go broke, Emma. They move money around. He was right. Over the next few weeks, Marcus and his team tore apart Victoria and Derek's finances. What they found was stunning. Shell companies, offshore accounts, money transferred to Derek's parents' names, assets hidden in trusts. They'd been preparing for this, moving money around for months, ever since I started asking questions. But they'd made mistakes. There were transactions they couldn't explain, large deposits into accounts they claimed didn't exist. Marcus filed a motion with the bankruptcy court alleging fraudulent conveyance, hiding assets to avoid creditors. The judge ordered a forensic audit. Victoria and Derek were required to sit for depositions. I wasn't allowed to be there, but Marcus recorded everything. Later, he played me the highlights. Victoria's deposition was a masterclass in evasion. I don't recall. I'd have to check with my accountant. That's not my area of expertise. But Derek cracked. When pressed about a $200,000 transfer to an account in the Cayman Islands, he got defensive. That's a business investment. It's perfectly legal. "What business?" Marcus asked. "A real estate venture." "What's the name of this venture?" I don't remember the exact name." "You don't remember the name of a business you invested $200,000 in?" Derek's lawyer intervened, and the deposition ended. But the damage was done. That night, Marcus called me. "We got them. The forensic auditor found everything. They've hidden close to $2 million in various accounts. The bankruptcy judge is not happy. There's going to be a hearing, and I think this whole thing is about to blow up in their faces." The bankruptcy hearing was public. I sat in the back of the courtroom watching. Victoria and Derek sat at a table with their lawyers, looking composed. But I could see the tension in Victoria's shoulders, the way Derek kept adjusting his tie. The judge was a stern woman in her 60s named Judge Patricia Callahan. She did not look amused as she reviewed the forensic auditor's report. "Mr. and Mrs. Ashford," she began, "this court takes a very dim view of debtors who attempt to hide assets while seeking bankruptcy protection. The report before me indicates you have approximately $1.9 million in undisclosed assets across various accounts and holdings." Victoria's lawyer stood. "Your Honor, those assets are part of legitimate business structures." "Legitimate business structures that were created after the defendant was made aware of pending litigation," Judge Callahan interrupted. "Shell companies formed in the last 6 months. Transfers to family members coinciding with legal action. This court finds clear evidence of fraudulent conveyance." She slammed her gavel. "The bankruptcy petition is denied." Furthermore, I'm referring this case to the U.S. Attorney's Office for investigation of bankruptcy fraud. The courtroom erupted in whispers. Victoria's face went pale. Derek looked like he might be sick. I felt a surge of vindication so strong it almost knocked me over. But it wasn't over. Judge Callahan continued. Additionally, all assets are hereby frozen pending resolution of the civil suit filed by Ms. Emma Whitmore. That includes the property in Millbrook Valley and the resort under construction. Victoria turned and looked directly at me for the first time. Her eyes were filled with pure hatred. Outside the courthouse, reporters swarmed. I gave a brief statement, keeping it simple. I just want what my grandmother intended. The truth is coming out. That night, the story was everywhere. Local news, state news, even a few national outlets picked it up. Sisters battle over inheritance, and resort developer accused of elder fraud, and bankruptcy scheme exposed in family feud. Victoria and Derek went into hiding. They released a statement through their lawyer calling me vindictive and claiming they were victims of a smear campaign. But public opinion had turned against them completely. The GoFundMe, which had slowed down, suddenly exploded again. People donated out of spite for Victoria and Derek, out of solidarity with me, out of pure anger at what they'd done. The total reached $75,000. I used it to cover all the legal costs and gave the rest to Frank to reimburse him for the storage unit and thank him for everything he'd done. He refused at first, but I insisted. You saved my family's history. You believed me when no one else did. Please. He accepted with tears in his eyes. 3 weeks later, Victoria and Derek were arrested. The charges were extensive: financial elder abuse, forgery, identity theft, fraud, and conspiracy. The district attorney's office held a press conference. These defendants allegedly engaged in a systematic scheme to isolate, manipulate, and steal from a vulnerable elderly woman, resulting in the theft of over $300,000 in property and assets. I watched it on TV from my living room, crying. Not tears of joy exactly, tears of grief for Grandma, for what should have been, for the family that was now destroyed beyond repair. My mother called. Emma, you need to drop this. You're destroying your own family. Victoria destroyed our family, Mom, not me. She's your sister. She made mistakes, but she doesn't deserve to go to prison. She deserves to face consequences. What about me? Mom's voice broke. You're making me choose between my daughters. No, Mom. Victoria made you choose years ago. You just picked her side without realizing it. The silence on the other end was deafening. Finally, Mom spoke, her voice cold. If you go through with this, I'll never forgive you. Then I guess you won't forgive me. I hung up. It was the hardest thing I'd ever done. But I meant it. I was done being the one who sacrificed for family peace. I was done being the afterthought. Victoria and Derek's trial was set for 6 months later. In the meantime, the civil suit proceeded. The property was still frozen, construction on the resort halted. The site sat abandoned, half-finished buildings and silent machinery. A monument to their greed. Marcus filed a motion for summary judgment, arguing the evidence was so overwhelming there was no need for a trial. The judge agreed to hear it. The hearing was scheduled for late November, almost exactly 1 year after Grandma's death. The night before the hearing, I couldn't sleep. I drove out to Millbrook Valley and parked by the construction site. The moon was full, casting silver light over everything. I walked through the empty site, my footsteps echoing. I found the spot where Grandma's garden had been and sat down in the dirt. I'm trying, Grandma, I whispered to the night air. I'm trying to make this right. The wind picked up, rustling through the trees that Victoria hadn't cut down yet. For just a moment, I felt peace. Like Grandma was there with me, her hand on my shoulder, the way she used to do. You're doing good, Emma girl. I could almost hear her say. You're doing just right. The courtroom was packed. News crews, reporters, curious onlookers. Frank sat behind me, a steady presence. Victoria and Derek sat on the opposite side, their lawyers surrounding them like shields. They didn't look at me. The judge entered, and we all stood. Judge Richard Thornton was known for being fair, but tough. He'd reviewed all the evidence in advance. This is a hearing on the plaintiff's motion for summary judgment in the case of Emma Whitmore versus Victoria and Derek Ashford, he began. I've reviewed the extensive evidence presented by both parties. Marcus stood and gave his argument. He was brilliant, clear, concise, devastating. He walked through the timeline, the journal entries, the forged signatures, the hidden money, the isolation tactics. Your Honor, this is not a case of family disagreement. This is a case of systematic elder abuse and fraud. The defendants manipulated a vulnerable woman, forged her signature, stole her money, and defrauded the rightful heir of her inheritance. Victoria's lawyer argued back, but it was weak. He tried to claim Grandma was mentally competent, that she'd chosen to transfer the property, that the withdrawals were authorized. But every point was contradicted by the evidence. Judge Thornton listened to everything, his expression unreadable. Finally, he spoke. I'm going to cut to the chase. I've seen a lot of estate cases in my career. This is one of the clearest cases of fraud I've ever encountered. The evidence is overwhelming and undisputed. He looked directly at Victoria and Derek. You took advantage of an elderly woman's vulnerability. You isolated her from her family. You forged her signature. You stole her money. And you did it all with premeditation and planning. Therefore, I am granting the plaintiff's motion for summary judgment. The property transfer is voided. The property in Millbrook Valley is hereby returned to the estate of Rose Whitmore to be distributed according to her true intentions, to her granddaughter, Emma Whitmore. The gavel came down like thunder. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't move. It was over. I'd won. Marcus squeezed my shoulder. Congratulations, Emma. But it wasn't quite over. Judge Thornton continued. Furthermore, the defendants are ordered to pay restitution for all stolen funds, plus interest, and they are to pay Ms. Whitmore's legal fees in full. Victoria stood up, her chair scraping loudly. This is insane. You're destroying our lives over a piece of land. Judge Thornton's expression hardened. You destroyed your own lives through your choices. Court is adjourned. Security had to escort Victoria out as she screamed about appeals and injustice. Derek just walked out silently, his face ashen. Outside, reporters mobbed me. I gave a brief statement. Justice has been served for my grandmother. That's all that matters. The criminal trial happened 4 months later. I had to testify. Facing Victoria across a courtroom was surreal. She looked smaller somehow, diminished. When it was my turn on the stand, I told the truth. All of it. The jury deliberated for 3 days. The verdict, guilty on all counts. Victoria was sentenced to 5 years in prison. Derek got 3 years. I felt no joy in it. Just a deep, bone-tired relief. The property was officially mine. But what was I supposed to do with a half-built resort? I couldn't afford to finish it. I couldn't afford to tear it down. I just had this expensive, unusable piece of land. Frank had an idea. What if we turned it into something else? Something your grandma would have liked. Like what? A community center. Keep some of the structure they built, modify it, make it a place for the town, gardens, meeting spaces, maybe a small museum about the property's history. I loved it. With the restitution money from Victoria and Derek, plus some grants Marcus helped me apply for, we started the conversion. It took 8 months. We saved what we could of Victoria's construction and repurposed it. The Sunset Pavilion became a community event space. The spa building became a senior center. We planted gardens where Grandma's gardens had been, using her old journal entries to recreate them. We built a small museum in what was going to be the resort lobby, filled with photos and artifacts from the property's history. Photos Frank had saved, pieces of the old farmhouse, Dad's tools displayed like art. We opened the Rose Whitmore Community Center on what would have been Grandma's 85th birthday. The whole town came. People I'd never met told me stories about Grandma, how she'd helped them, given them advice, baked them pies during hard times. I realized she'd touched so many more lives than I'd known. Frank gave a speech. Rose was a woman who believed in community, in family, in doing what's right even when it's hard. This center honors that legacy. I spoke too, though I cried through most of it. My grandma used to say, "Land isn't about ownership, it's about stewardship. You take care of it, and it takes care of you." That's what we're trying to do here. Take care of this land the way she would have wanted, and let it take care of this community. The applause was deafening. That night, after everyone left, I sat alone in the garden. It was peaceful, beautiful, right. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. I saw the news about the center. It's beautiful. I'm sorry. Victoria. I stared at the text for a long time. Part of me wanted to respond, to tell her, what? That I forgave her? I didn't. That I understood? I didn't. Instead, I deleted the message. Some wounds don't heal. Some relationships can't be repaired, and that's okay. I'd learned that it's not my job to make peace with people who hurt me. It's my job to protect what matters and honor the people who loved me. A year after the center opened, I was working in the garden when I heard footsteps. I looked up, expecting Frank. Instead, I saw my mother. We hadn't spoken since the trial. She looked older, tired. Emma. Mom. We stood there, an awkward silence between us. Finally, she spoke. I was wrong. About everything. About taking Victoria's side, about asking you to stop fighting. I should have believed you. Why didn't you? I asked, the question I'd wanted to ask for 2 years. Mom's eyes filled with tears. Because it was easier to believe Victoria. Because accepting what she did meant accepting that I'd failed as a mother, that I'd raised someone capable of that I'd been so focused on her success that I ignored her cruelty, that I made you feel less important your whole life. I'd waited so long to hear those words. You did, I said softly. You made me feel invisible. I know. And I'm so sorry. She stepped closer. I'm not asking you to forgive me. I don't deserve that, but I wanted you to know that I see you now. I see what you've built here. I see your strength, and I'm so proud of you. I cried then, and so did she. We didn't hug. We weren't there yet, but it was a start. The center is having a fall festival next month, I said. If you want to come, I'd like that. She left, and I went back to my gardening. Healing isn't linear. Forgiveness isn't required. But sometimes, people surprise you. 2 years after I took back the property, I was leading a tour through the museum section of the center. A group of school children listened as I showed them photos of the original farmhouse. My great-great-grandmother built this house with her own hands, I told them. She believed that what we build should last, should serve others, should mean something. One little girl raised her hand. What happened to it? Someone tore it down to build something just for themselves, but we built something better, something for everyone. After the tour, I walked to the memorial garden Frank and I had created. There was a bench there with a plaque. Rose Whitmore, 1939 to 2023. She believed in family, community, and doing what's right. I sat on the bench and looked out at the property. It was beautiful. Different than it had been, but beautiful. The community center was thriving. Local artists displayed their work in the gallery space. Seniors took classes. Kids had summer camps in the nature areas. The land was alive again, serving its purpose. Frank walked up, carrying 2 cups of coffee. He handed me one and sat down. You did good, kid. We did good, I corrected. We sat in comfortable silence, watching the sun set over the valley. My phone buzzed, an email from Marcus. Thought you'd want to know. Victoria was released on parole today. She's required to stay 500 feet away from you and the property as part of her parole conditions. I showed Frank. How do you feel about that? He asked. I don't know, I admitted. Part of me is angry she got out early. Part of me just feels sad. She lost everything for greed. Her freedom, her reputation, her family. Was it worth it? That's a question only she can answer, Frank said wisely. You did your part. You told the truth and fought for what was right. What she does with her second chance is on her. He was right. I couldn't control Victoria's choices, or my mother's, or anyone else's. I could only control mine. 3 months later, I was closing up the center late one evening when I saw someone standing by the memorial garden. My heart stopped. Victoria. She looked different, thinner, her hair shorter, no designer clothes, just jeans and a plain sweater. She saw me and immediately stepped back. I'm not here to cause trouble, I wanted to see it. What you built. I should have called the police. She was violating her par for a trial. The judge agreed to hear it. The hearing was scheduled for late November, almost exactly 1 year after Grandma's death. The night before the hearing, I couldn't sleep. I drove out to Millbrook Valley and parked by the construction site. The moon was full, casting silver light over everything. I walked through the empty site, my footsteps echoing. I found the spot where Grandma's garden had been and sat down in the dirt. I'm trying, Grandma, I whispered to the night air. I'm trying to make this right. The wind picked up, rustling through the trees that Victoria hadn't cut down yet. For just a moment, I felt peace. Like Grandma was there with me, her hand on my shoulder, the way she used to do. You're doing good, Emma girl, I could almost hear her say. You're doing just right. The courtroom was packed. News crews, reporters, curious onlookers. Frank sat behind me, a steady presence. Victoria and Derek sat on the opposite side, their lawyers surrounding them like shields. They didn't look at me. The judge entered, and we all stood. Judge Richard Thornton was known for being fair but tough. He'd reviewed all the evidence in advance. This is a hearing on the plaintiff's motion for summary judgment in the case of Emma Whitmore versus Victoria and Derek Ashford, he began. I've reviewed the extensive evidence presented by both parties. Marcus stood and gave his argument. He was brilliant, clear, concise, devastating. He walked through the timeline, the journal entries, the forged signatures, the hidden money, the isolation tactics. Your Honor, this is not a case of family disagreement. This is a case of systematic elder abuse and fraud. The defendants manipulated a vulnerable woman, forged her signature, stole her money, and defrauded the rightful heir of her inheritance. Victoria's lawyer argued back, but it was weak. He tried to claim Grandma was mentally competent, that she'd chosen to transfer the property, that the withdrawals were authorized. But every point was contradicted by the evidence. Judge Thornton listened to everything, his expression unreadable. Finally, he spoke. I'm going to cut to the chase. I've seen a lot of estate cases in my career. This is one of the clearest cases of fraud I've ever encountered. The evidence is overwhelming and undisputed. He looked directly at Victoria and Derek. You took advantage of an elderly woman's vulnerability. You isolated her from her family. You forged her signature. You stole her money. And you did it all with premeditation and planning. Therefore, I am granting the plaintiff's motion for summary judgment. The property transfer is voided. The property in Millbrook Valley is hereby returned to the estate of Rose Whitmore, to be distributed according to her true intentions, to her granddaughter, Emma Whitmore. The gavel came down like thunder. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't move. It was over. I'd won. Marcus squeezed my shoulder. Congratulations, Emma. But it wasn't quite over. Judge Thornton continued. Furthermore, the defendants are ordered to pay restitution for all stolen funds, plus interest, and they are to pay Ms. Whitmore's legal fees in full. Victoria stood up, her chair scraping loudly. This is insane. You're destroying our lives over a piece of land. Judge Thornton's expression hardened. You destroyed your own lives through your choices. Court is adjourned. Security had to escort Victoria out as she screamed about appeals and injustice. Derek just walked out silently, his face ashen. Outside, reporters mobbed me. I gave a brief statement. Justice has been served for my grandmother. That's all that matters. The criminal trial happened 4 months later. I had to testify. Facing Victoria across a courtroom was surreal. She looked smaller somehow, diminished. When it was my turn on the stand, I told the truth. All of it. The jury deliberated for 3 days. The verdict, guilty on all counts. Victoria was sentenced to 5 years in prison. Derek got 3 years. I felt no joy in it. just a deep, bone-tired relief. The property was officially mine. But what was I supposed to do with a half-built resort? I couldn't afford to finish it. I couldn't afford to tear it down. I just had this expensive, unusable piece of land. Frank had an idea. What if we turned it into something else? Something your grandma would have liked. Like what? A community center. Keep some of the structure they built, modify it, make it a place for the town, gardens, meeting spaces, maybe a small museum about the property's history. I loved it. With the restitution money from Victoria and Derek, plus some grants Marcus helped me apply for, we started the conversion. It took 8 months. We saved what we could of Victoria's construction and repurposed it. The Sunset Pavilion became a community event space. The spa building became a senior center. We planted gardens where Grandma's gardens had been, using her old journal entries to recreate them. We built a small museum in what was going to be the resort lobby, filled with photos and artifacts from the property's history. Photos Frank had saved, pieces of the old farmhouse, Dad's tools displayed like art. We opened the Rose Whitmore Community Center on what would have been Grandma's 85th birthday. The whole town came. People I'd never met told me stories about Grandma, how she'd helped them, given them advice, baked them pies during hard times. I realized she'd touched so many more lives than I'd known. Frank gave a speech. Rose was a woman who believed in community, in family, in doing what's right even when it's hard. This center honors that legacy. I spoke too, though I cried through most of it. My grandma used to say, land isn't about ownership, it's about stewardship. You take care of it, and it takes care of you. That's what we're trying to do here. Take care of this land the way she would have wanted, and let it take care of this community. The applause was deafening. That night, after everyone left, I sat alone in the garden. It was peaceful, beautiful. Right. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. I saw the news about the center. It's beautiful. I'm sorry. Victoria. I stared at the text for a long time. Part of me wanted to respond, to tell her. What? That I forgave her? I didn't. That I understood? I didn't. Instead, I deleted the message. Some wounds don't heal. Some relationships can't be repaired. And that's okay. I'd learned that it's not my job to make peace with people who hurt me. It's my job to protect what matters and honor the people who loved me. A year after the center opened, I was working in the garden when I heard footsteps. I looked up, expecting Frank. Instead, I saw my mother. We hadn't spoken since the trial. She looked older, tired. Emma. Mom. We stood there, an awkward silence between us. Finally, she spoke. I was wrong. About everything. About taking Victoria's side, about asking you to stop fighting. I should have believed you. Why didn't you? I asked. The question I'd wanted to ask for 2 years. Mom's eyes filled with tears. Because it was easier to believe Victoria. Because accepting what she did meant accepting that I'd failed as a mother. That I'd raised someone capable of that. That I'd been so focused on her success that I ignored her cruelty. That I made you feel less important your whole life. I'd waited so long to hear those words. You did, I said softly. You made me feel invisible. I know. And I'm so sorry. She stepped closer. I'm not asking you to forgive me. I don't deserve that, but I wanted you to know that I see you now. I see what you've built here. I see your strength. And I'm so proud of you. I cried then, and so did she. We didn't hug. We weren't there yet, but it was a start. The center is having a fall festival next month, I said. If you want to come, I'd like that. She left, and I went back to my gardening. Healing isn't linear. Forgiveness isn't required. But sometimes, people surprise you. 2 years after I took back the property, I was leading a tour through the museum section of the center. A group of school children listened as I showed them photos of the original farmhouse. My great-great-grandmother built this house with her own hands, I told them. She believed that what we build should last, should serve others, should mean something. One little girl raised her hand. What happened to it? Someone tore it down to build something just for themselves. But we built something better, something for everyone. After the tour, I walked to the memorial garden Frank and I had created. There was a bench there with a plaque. Rose Whitmore, 1939 to 2023. She believed in family, community, and doing what's right. I sat on the bench and looked out at the property. It was beautiful. Different than it had been, but beautiful. The community center was thriving. Local artists displayed their work in the gallery space. Seniors took classes. Kids had summer camps in the nature areas. The land was alive again, serving its purpose. Frank walked up, carrying 2 cups of coffee. He handed me one and sat down. "You did good, kid." "We did good," I corrected. We sat in comfortable silence, watching the sunset over the valley. My phone buzzed. An email from Marcus. "Thought you'd want to know. Victoria was released on parole today. She's required to stay 500 feet away from you and the property as part of her parole conditions." I showed Frank. "How do you feel about that?" he asked. "I don't know," I admitted. "Part of me is angry she got out early. Part of me just feels sad. She lost everything for greed. Her freedom, her reputation, her family. Was it worth it? That's a question only she can answer," Frank said wisely. "You did your part. You told the truth and fought for what was right. What she does with her second chance is on her." He was right. I couldn't control Victoria's choices or my mother's or anyone else's. I could only control mine. 3 months later, I was closing up the center late one evening when I saw someone standing by the memorial garden. My heart stopped. Victoria. She looked different, thinner, her hair shorter, no designer clothes, just jeans and a plain sweater. She saw me and immediately stepped back. "I'm not here to cause trouble. I wanted to see it. What you built. I should have called the police. She was violating her parole by being there." But something stopped me. "You have 5 minutes," I said. We walked through the center in silence. Victoria looked at everything. The photos in the museum, the community spaces, the gardens. When we reached Grandma's memorial bench, she stopped. "She would have hated me," Victoria said softly. "She would have been disappointed," I corrected. "There's a difference." Victoria turned to me. "I was so jealous of you. My whole life. You were Dad's favorite, Grandma's favorite. Everyone loved you effortlessly, and I had to work so hard just to be noticed. So you stole from me?" My voice was sharp. "That's your justification?" "No, there's no justification. I'm not asking for forgiveness, Emma. I know I don't deserve it. I destroyed our family. I destroyed my own life. I hurt Grandma in ways I can never take back." She sat on the bench, her shoulders shaking. "I just wanted you to know that I see it now. How wrong I was, how much I lost, and how much more you built from the ashes of what I tried to destroy." I sat next to her, keeping distance between us. "Why did you really come here?" "Because my therapist said I need to face what I did, to stop running from it, and because..." She paused. "Because I miss my sister." "I'm not your sister anymore, Victoria. That person died the day you forged Grandma's signature." Victoria nodded, tears streaming down her face. "I know. I just needed to say it anyway." She stood. "I'll go. I'm sorry for violating the restraining order. You can call the police if you want." "I'm not going to," I said. "But don't come back. You don't get to be part of this. You don't get to be part of what Grandma's legacy became." Victoria nodded and walked away. I watched her go, feeling a strange mix of emotions. I didn't forgive her, but I also didn't hate her anymore. I just felt nothing, and that somehow was its own form of closure. 5 years after taking back the property, the Rose Whitmore Community Center had become the heart of Millbrook Valley. We'd added a farmer's market, a tool library, and a seed exchange. We'd started a program where local kids could learn traditional farming and crafts. The center was exactly what Grandma would have wanted, a place that brought people together, that served the community, that honored the land. I'd also gone back to school, got my nursing degree finally, and worked part-time at the local hospital. But most of my time was spent at the center. Frank had officially retired, but came by almost every day to putter in the gardens or fix things. He'd become like a grandfather to me, filling a void I didn't know I had. My mother and I had rebuilt our relationship slowly. She volunteered at the center now, helping organize events. We'd probably never be as close as we once were, but we were finding our way to something new, something honest. I never heard from Victoria again after that night. I'd heard through the grapevine that she'd moved to another state, was working a regular job, staying out of trouble. Derek had divorced her while she was in prison. He'd served his time and disappeared completely. I didn't think about them much anymore. They were part of my past, but they didn't define my present. What defined my present was this: standing in Grandma's garden on a spring morning, watching children play in the community spaces, seeing neighbors gather for a weekend event, knowing that this land was serving its purpose, serving the community the way Grandma always believed it should. One day, a young reporter came to do a story on the center. She was writing an article about justice and redemption in small-town America. During the interview, she asked me, "Do you ever regret fighting for this? It cost you your relationship with your sister, your mother for a time, put you through years of stress. Was it worth it?" I thought about that question carefully. "The thing people don't understand about fighting for what's right," I said, "is that it's not about whether you win or lose. It's about whether you can live with yourself if you don't fight." My grandma spent her whole life teaching me that some things matter more than comfort, more than family peace, more than taking the easy road. Truth matters, justice matters, standing up for people who can't stand up for themselves matters. I gestured around the center. This place exists because I fought. But more than that, I can sleep at night knowing I honored my grandmother's wishes. I protected her legacy. I told the truth even when it was hard. Would I have been happier if I'd just taken Victoria's $50,000 and walked away? Maybe in the short term. But I would have spent the rest of my life knowing I'd betrayed the person who loved me most. The reporter nodded, writing quickly. What would you say to someone in a similar situation? Someone facing family fraud or manipulation? I'd say document everything, find allies, tell the truth, and understand that doing the right thing sometimes means losing people you love. But you'll find new people, better people, people who value integrity over convenience. The article came out a month later. It was beautiful, thoughtful, and it brought even more attention to the center. We got grant offers, volunteer applications, donation inquiries. 6 years after everything started, I received a letter. It was forwarded through the center's address, no return address on it. I opened it carefully. The handwriting was Victoria's. "Emma, I know you don't want to hear from me. I know I don't deserve your time or attention, but I'm writing this anyway, not because I expect anything from you, but because my therapist says I need to take accountability without expecting forgiveness. You were right about everything. I was jealous. I was greedy. I convinced myself I deserved that land more than you because I could do something with it. But what I really meant was I could profit from it. I've spent 6 years thinking about what I did, not just to you, but to Grandma. I replay those final months of her life, how scared she looked sometimes, how she'd beg to call you and I'd make excuses. I remember the journal you showed in court, the one where she wrote about feeling like a prisoner. I did that to her. I made my own grandmother afraid in her own home. There's no coming back from that. There's no apology that makes it okay. I know that. I've lost everything. My freedom, my marriage, my family, my reputation. And I deserve it all. But the thing I can't get back, the thing that haunts me every single day, is that I can't apologize to Grandma. I can't tell her I'm sorry. I can't undo the fear and betrayal she felt in those final months. So I'm telling you instead, not because you need to hear it, but because someone needs to witness my accountability. I was wrong. Comprehensively, completely wrong. What you built with that land, the community center, the programs, the way you honored her, it's what she deserved. It's what I never could have given her, even if I'd been sincere. I don't expect you to write back. I don't expect forgiveness. I just needed you to know that you were right to fight. You were right to expose me. And if I could go back and change everything, I would. Not to save myself, but to save Grandma from what I put her through. I hope you're happy, Emma. I genuinely mean that. I hope the center thrives. I hope you find peace. And I hope someday you can think of me without anger. Not forgiveness, I don't deserve that. But just indifference. The way you'd think of a stranger who once wronged you long ago. Your sister in name only, Victoria. I read the letter 3 times. Then I filed it away in a drawer. I didn't respond. She was right. She didn't deserve forgiveness. But the letter did something unexpected. It gave me full closure. Knowing that she understood, truly understood what she'd done. That was enough. I didn't need to carry anger anymore. I could just let it all go. 9 years after I took back the property, I stood in the community center's expanded gardens, now covering 5 of the 20 acres. The rest of the land had been developed carefully. Housing for seniors on 3 acres, a nature preserve on 7 acres, and the community center complex on the remaining 5. Every decision had been made with one question. What would Grandma want? I was now 34. Frank was 72, still puttering around, still fixing things, still telling stories about Grandma to anyone who'd listen. My mother was 73, and finally at peace with her choices. She'd written me a letter 2 years ago that I kept in the same drawer as Victoria's. I'm proud of the woman you've become, despite my failures as your mother. You are everything I should have taught Victoria to be. I'd met someone too, a teacher named David, who volunteered at the center. He understood my mission, supported it, never tried to change it. We'd been together 3 years and were talking about marriage. Life was good. Not perfect, but good. Full. Meaningful. One day, I was giving a tour to a group of donors when a woman in her early 20s approached me afterward. Ms. Whitmore? I just wanted to say thank you. My grandmother used to come to the senior center here before she passed. She said it gave her life meaning in her final years, that she'd been so lonely before, but this place gave her community. I hugged her, blinking back tears. That's exactly why we built it. That night, sitting in Grandma's memorial garden, I finally let myself believe it. I'd done it. I'd honored her legacy, not by preserving it exactly as it was, that was impossible, but by transforming it into something that served the same values she'd held dear. 10 years after taking back the property, a documentary crew reached out. They wanted to tell the story, the fraud, the fight, the transformation of the land. I was hesitant. Did the world really need to see our family's worst moment broadcast everywhere? But then I thought about all the messages I'd received over the years. People facing similar situations, feeling helpless, not knowing how to fight back against family members who exploited their elderly relatives. Okay, I told the filmmaker. But I have conditions. You interview Frank. You focus on elder abuse prevention, and you end with the center, not with Victoria's crimes. They agreed. The documentary took 18 months to make. They interviewed me, Frank, Marcus Chen, the district attorney, even some of Victoria's former friends who'd felt betrayed by her actions. They requested an interview with Victoria. She declined initially, but then changed her mind. She agreed to be interviewed, but only if none of the proceeds from the documentary went to her. Give it to elder abuse prevention charities, she said. The footage of Victoria's interview was hard to watch. She looked worn, older than her years. But she was honest, brutally honest. I stole from my own grandmother, she said directly to the camera. I isolated her. I forged her signature. I manipulated her when she was vulnerable. I did it for greed, and I destroyed my family in the process. The interviewer asked, "What would you say to people watching this who might be in a similar situation to what you were in? Feeling entitled to an inheritance?" Victoria looked directly at the camera. "No amount of money is worth what I lost. No amount of land is worth the guilt I live with every day. If you're thinking about taking advantage of an elderly relative, stop. Just stop, because you'll win nothing and lose everything." The documentary premiered at a film festival and won awards. It aired on streaming platforms and reached millions of people. The Rose Whitmore Community Center became famous. We got donations from all over the country. People shared their own stories in response. The documentary became part of training programs for social workers, lawyers, and healthcare providers focused on elder abuse prevention. Grandma's story, our story, was helping people. That felt like the ultimate justice. 12 years after everything started, I stood in the same spot where I'd once been told I was trespassing. The resort logo was gone, replaced by the community center's sign. Tourists still came, but now they came to visit the gardens, to attend workshops, to learn about sustainable agriculture. The Sunset Pavilion, where people had once sipped cocktails, was now a gathering space where seniors played cards and families celebrated milestones. Everything had changed, everything was different. But the land was still here, still serving, still mattering. Frank had passed away the year before, at 76, peacefully in his sleep. He'd left everything he had to the center. For Emma, his will said, who understood what Rose really wanted. I missed him every day. David and I had gotten married at the center, in Grandma's garden. Our daughter Rose, named after Grandma of course, was now 2 years old. She toddled through the gardens, picking flowers, laughing. She'd never know the battles fought for this land, but she'd grow up knowing it was special, knowing it mattered. I'd heard Victoria had remarried, was living quietly in Oregon, working as an accountant. We'd never spoken again after that letter. Mom saw her occasionally. They'd rebuilt some form of relationship, but she respected my boundary. Victoria wasn't part of my life. Sometimes people asked if I'd ever forgive her. The answer was complicated. I didn't hate her. I didn't wish her harm. But forgiveness? That implied a relationship, a connection. We had none. She was a stranger who once stole from me. I'd won. She'd lost. That was the end of the story. Except it wasn't the end. Not really. Because every day the center opened its doors. Every day people gathered on land that was meant to be a monument to one woman's greed, but had become a testament to community and resilience. Every day I got to honor Grandma's memory not through anger or revenge, but through service. That was better than any revenge could ever be. People often asked me, was it worth it? All the pain, the stress, the family destruction, was getting the land back worth it? And my answer was always the same. I didn't fight for land. I fought for truth. The land was just what the truth looked like in the end. Because here's what I learned through everything. Justice isn't about winning. It's about making sure that people who hurt others face consequences. It's about protecting the vulnerable, even after they're gone. It's about standing up and saying, no, this isn't right, and I won't pretend it is. Did I lose my sister? Yes, but I'd lost her years before, the moment she decided her greed mattered more than Grandma's dignity. Did I lose precious time and energy to the fight? Yes, but I gained something too, self-respect. The knowledge that when it mattered most, I'd chosen integrity over comfort. That's worth more than any inheritance. The land could have been sold. The money could have been divided. The easy path was always there. But easy isn't the same as right. And in the end, doing the right thing gave me something I never expected. Peace. Not the peace of having no conflict, but the peace of knowing that when my time comes, when I'm old and looking back on my life, I'll know I stood up for someone who couldn't stand up for herself. I'll know I honored the woman who loved me unconditionally. I'll know that I didn't let evil win, even when evil wore my sister's face. On what would have been Grandma's 95th birthday, we held a special ceremony at the center. We planted a tree, an apple tree, from a cutting of the tree that used to grow outside her farmhouse. Frank had secretly saved it before the demolition. Marcus Chen came, now retired but still sharp. You changed elder abuse law in this state, you know, he told me. The Rose Whitmore Act made it easier to prosecute family members who exploit elderly relatives. I hadn't known they'd named it after her. I cried. Happy tears this time. My daughter Rose stood next to me, now 5 years old, as we dedicated the tree. This is your great-great-grandmother's tree, I told her. She loved apples, and she loved this land. And because she loved it, and because we fought for it, all these people get to enjoy it now. Rose nodded seriously, not fully understanding but sensing the importance. "Will it be mine someday?" she asked. "If you want it," I said. "But it's not about owning it, sweetie. It's about taking care of it, about making sure it helps people." "Like Grandma did?" "Exactly like Grandma did." That night, after everyone left, David and I sat in the memorial garden. "Do you ever wonder what would have happened if you'd just taken the $50,000? He asked. It wasn't the first time he'd asked. "Every day for the first year," I admitted. "Now, never. Because this," I gestured around us, "this is Grandma's real legacy. Not money, not land ownership. This, community, service, justice, truth." "You're remarkable, you know that?" David said, kissing my forehead. "I'm just stubborn," I corrected. "Grandma always said I was the stubborn one." "Thank God for that," he laughed. We sat in comfortable silence, watching the stars come out. The same stars Grandma had watched from this land for decades. The same stars I'd watched as a child, sitting on her porch, listening to her stories. The land had changed. Everything had changed. But the stars remained, constant, steady, eternal. 15 years after I took back the property, I was at the grocery store when I literally ran my cart into someone else's. "I'm so sorry, I wasn't—" I looked up. Victoria. We both froze. She looked different, older, yes, but also softer. The hard edges I remembered were gone. "Emma," she said quietly. "Hi." We stood there awkwardly. Other shoppers moved around us, oblivious to the weight of this moment. "I live here now," Victoria said. "Moved back 6 months ago. I've been avoiding the center, avoiding anywhere I might run into you." "Why did you come back?" I asked. "My father's buried here. Derek's buried here. I wanted to be near them, and I don't know. Maybe I needed to face what I did. Can't run forever." She looked down at her cart. Generic brands, cheap products. Such a far cry from the designer everything Victoria I used to know. "I see the center every time I drive past," she continued. "It's beautiful. You did something amazing with it." "Thank you," I said, not knowing what else to say. "I don't expect anything," Victoria added quickly. "I'm not asking for forgiveness or a relationship or anything. If we run into each other, I wanted you to know I'm not the same person who did those things. I've spent 15 years working on myself, making amends where I can, trying to be better." I believed her. I could see it in her eyes, genuine remorse, genuine change. But it didn't change the past. "I'm glad you're doing better," I said carefully. "But Victoria, we can't—" "I know," she interrupted. "I know, I'm not asking for that. I just wanted you to know that what you did, fighting back, exposing the truth, it saved my life. I would have kept going down that path, hurting people, destroying everything. Prison, therapy, consequences. They forced me to change. So, in a weird way, you saved me even while you were fighting me. I hadn't expected that. I didn't do it for you," I said honestly. "I know. You did it for Grandma. But it still saved me." We stood there a moment longer. Then Victoria nodded and pushed her cart past me. "Take care, Emma." "You too, Victoria." I watched her walk away, disappearing down the cereal aisle, and I felt nothing. No anger, no hatred, no love, just neutral, indifferent. She was a stranger now who used to be my sister. And that was okay. Some relationships don't survive their betrayals. Some people exit your life and never come back. That's not failure. That's just reality. 20 years after taking back the property, I stood before a crowd of over 300 people gathered for the center's 20th anniversary celebration. My daughter Rose, now 22, stood beside me. She'd just graduated college with a degree in nonprofit management and had announced she wanted to run the center someday. My heart was so full it could burst. 20 years ago, I began, speaking into the microphone. I stood on this property and was told I was trespassing. On my own land. In that moment, I had a choice. I could walk away, accept what seemed inevitable, let the theft stand, or I could fight. I chose to fight. Not because I was brave, I was terrified. not because I was strong. I cried myself to sleep most nights, but because my grandmother taught me that some things are worth fighting for, even when the fight seems impossible. I looked out at the crowd. So many familiar faces. People whose lives had been touched by this place. Seniors who'd found community here. Kids who'd learned to garden here. Families who'd celebrated milestones here. This center exists because one woman, Rose Whitmore, believed that land should serve people, not profit. Because one man, Frank Morrison, believed in doing what's right even when it's hard. Because a lawyer, Marcus Chen, believed in justice for the vulnerable. And because this community believed in second chances. Not second chances for people who hurt others, I clarified. But second chances for land, for legacy, for meaning. This property was almost lost to greed. Instead, it became something that serves thousands of people every year. I paused, emotional. My grandmother used to say, "What we leave behind isn't money or property. It's how we made people feel, how we served our community, how we stood up for what's right." This center is what she left behind. Not because she built it, but because she inspired it. The applause was thunderous. After the ceremony, people lined up to share their stories. A woman whose mother had been isolated by a predatory caregiver who'd fought back after seeing the documentary about our case. A man who'd contested his father's will after suspicious changes were made. A lawyer who'd specialized in elder law because of our story. Over and over, people told me, "Your fight mattered. Your story gave me courage. Your grandmother's legacy changed my life." Every story was a reminder that the pain had been worth it, that the sacrifice had meaning, that standing up to Victoria hadn't just saved Grandma's land, it had inspired others to stand up too. That night, after everyone had gone home, I walked alone through the property one last time. 20 years of memories flooded back. The day I'd been told I was trespassing. The moment I found Grandma's journal. The hearing where the judge ruled in my favor. The opening of the center. Frank's funeral. Rose's first steps in these gardens. All of it had led to this moment. Standing on land that was supposed to be lost, but was instead found. Supposed to be stolen, but was instead restored. Supposed to be destroyed, but was instead transformed into something that mattered. I sat on Grandma's memorial bench, now weathered by 2 decades of sun and rain. "I did it, Grandma," I whispered to the evening air. "I kept my promise. I protected your legacy. And I think you'd be proud." The wind rustled through the apple tree we'd planted from her original tree. For just a moment, I swear I felt her presence, that same comfort I'd felt as a child sitting on her porch, her arm around my shoulders. "I'm so proud of you, Emma girl," I could almost hear her say. "You did good." I sat there as the sun set, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. The same sky Grandma had watched, the same land she'd loved, but different now, better now, serving its purpose. Some stories don't have neat endings. Some battles leave scars that never fully heal. Some betrayals can't be forgiven. But some fights are worth fighting anyway. Not because you'll win everything back, but because standing up for what's right matters more than the outcome. Because protecting the vulnerable, even after they're gone, is always the right choice. Because legacy isn't about what you leave behind. It's about what you inspire others to become. Victoria stole my inheritance. But in fighting to get it back, I discovered something worth more than any property. The strength to stand up for truth, the courage to face family betrayal, and the wisdom to transform pain into purpose. My grandmother's land was supposed to be my inheritance. Instead, her legacy became my inspiration. And 20 years later, standing in a thriving community center built on land that was almost lost, I finally understood. She'd left me something far more valuable than 20 acres. She'd left me the conviction to fight for what's right, no matter the cost. And that inheritance? No one could ever steal it.